Okay, so another point that I wanted to talk on or speak about is keeping things simple. So the more simple you keep things, the easier it is for the child, the easier it is for the therapist, the more reliable the data is going to be, the quicker you're going to get the response that you desire from the child. And that's one of my objections to this 50, 60 programs, active at the same time. It may look good for an insurance company, it may look good for a supervisor, but in practicality, these things are going to be difficult for the behavior tech. And what tends to happen is that the behavior tech tends to not understand what's expected of him or her. A lot of times, and they simply either spend their time just trying to teach based on, just doing their best to try to implement their own program, or just trying to fill the time with something, maybe just trying to bond with the child or trying to come up with something on their own, because there's just too many programs to master. There's just too much confusion. They're not sure how to execute them, where to start from, and what to do. And so I've seen behavioral therapists that have been with kids for months, and really there's no data collected for months because the BT doesn't understand the program, so or the massive amounts of programs. So you want to keep everything as simple as possible. One thing that BCBAs may forget is that a BT is a introductory stage of a career in ABA. So this BT may be someone who's been working in the field for a few months, maybe a year. Sometimes you get someone who's been there for an extended amount of time, but this is an introductory stage of the career. And so a BCBA that may have been licensed for 10 years, 15 years, even 5 years, may forget that. And so they put things in terms, or they arrange their programs in a way that maybe they have a good grasp on, but maybe it's complicated for the BT to grasp onto. So if you're that BT that has a difficult time understanding the program, then reach out to the BCBA and try to have them simplify the things for you. And if you're a BCBA that has, programs, make sure that you simplify the programs, you reduce the number. Reducing the number is not harming the child, it's helping the child. So if you really got 60 things that you need to run, like I said, make a portion of them active and then slowly move some of them to maintenance and then introduce others and then work them systematically into your daily schedule so that you can run the massive trials over and over of similar programs for which DTT was kind of like the purpose of for which the program or system was invented for. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is what should the BT be doing? So if you're a behavior tech, there's only 5 things that you should ever be doing in a session. And they don't go outside these 5 things. One of them is really for the BCBA. You're not going to be doing that much. And that is assessing. So the BT may assist the BCBA in assessment and so forth, but for the most part, this is a responsibility of the BCBA. So assessing is one thing that you're going to be doing during a session, but maybe not much of it. The next thing, the main thing that you should be doing is the DTT. That includes all the way from gaining the, making sure the child is attending to delivering the reinforcement. Okay, that's the second thing you should be doing. The third thing that you should be doing is teaching. Okay, and so we'll talk more about that, but you can be teaching something. That's good. The next thing is it could be an essential, what I call an essential event happening. For example, the child has to go to the bathroom, and this isn't a part of his program, communicating or manding or something like that. Then it'd be part of a program, or be part of a task analysis or what have you. So the child has to go to the bathroom, or the child has to eat, and eating isn't a part of his program, or the nurse has to come in and change the child's clothes or change the child's bag or something like this. So these are essential things that you can't avoid. These are the only 5 things that are ever happening in a session. Either assessment is going on, teaching is going on, DTT essential event, I forgot one, which is pairing. Pairing is going on. Okay? Other than these 5 things, nothing else is happening. So it's not like, we worked a little bit, so I'm going to, just lay off of him for a while and give him a break or whatever. Don't characterize it as that. If you're giving him a break, then the break is earned. This is a reinforcement. You're giving him escape from doing a program, or he's getting a reinforcer with his toys for accomplishing a certain standard during his program. So always think of anything that you're doing in these 5 terms, right? There's never like off time, or we're just wasting time, or we're just everything has a purpose. Everything should be under the purposes of one of these things. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about a few of them. The first one is pairing. Pairing simply means that we're establishing a relationship with the child, and so we become reinforcing to that child. The child becomes used to us, giving commands, or becomes relaxed around us. They may see us as fun, and so forth and so on. Ideally, pairing should be, you may have an extended pairing time, your first few days working with the child, or your first week working with the child. But ideally, the pairing should be fused with your reinforcement. So you have a DTT program, then after your consequence, you have a reinforcement. Ideally, you should pair in the reinforcement time itself. So some behavior technicians are under the impression, okay, they've been working with a child for a month, and they're just there playing with toys and blowing bubbles and playing with the train, and they're doing this for 20-30 minutes. So you say, hey, what are you guys doing? Say, I'm pairing. Okay, well, perhaps you are pairing, but pairing is something, to this extent, when it's going on by itself, largely happens in the first week or with that child. But ideally, your pairing should be in the reinforcement itself. So you have a child do 10 trials, they finish the set or the program successfully, they get 5 minutes. When they get that 5 minutes, then you can blow bubbles with them, you can laugh with them, you can tickle them, you can run with them, you can do all these things. So during this reinforcement time, during that 5 minutes, that's when we're pairing. But we're not setting aside 20 minutes separately, or 30 minutes, or just 45 minutes. We're just kind of willy-nilly grabbing things and playing with things, and it's all under the guise of pairing. Pairing should be infused with the reinforcement as soon as possible. And that may not be possible the first time you encounter a child, or the first couple of days. You may really need 15 minutes or 20 minutes to pair with them. But as quickly as possible, we're going to fuse pairing in with reinforcement. Another thing that we talked about we're going to be doing with the child is teaching. So it depends on the intellectual level of the child, what the child can understand. Sometimes the program is teaching itself, and there's no teaching needed beyond that. And what does that mean? For example, if I tell you to raise your hand, right? If I say, raise your hand, and you didn't do it, and so I prompted you, and I raised your hand, so I'm doing a most to least prompt, for example, after 2 seconds. So I prompt you, I raise your hand, and I say, good job raising your hand. Wow. And then I give you a token. So just by doing the DTT program, I'm teaching you. You're learning. You're learning through the conditioning that, okay, wow, when I comply to whatever the demand is, or meet the standard of what the demand is, I get reinforced. So I understand that. She raised my hand. I got a token. I know if I get so many tokens, I get a candy. And I'm learning through the DTT process itself. So the next time I say, raise your hand, the little girl raises her hand. She gets the token. So she's learning through the process itself. So sometimes, most of the time, the learning is through the DTT process, right? But sometimes you need to teach before we start running the trials. So you may need to explain something. You may need to go over a social story, for example. These type of things. So if you're spending your time teaching something with a certain objective, then this is also a good use of your time, So I'm saying this to say, we don't just throw on songs or just play songs or we just dance or we just do something and we don't have a purpose for what that thing is, right? But if you're teaching something with a song, then it's no problem, For example, I want to teach the child that when I say thank you, they should say you're welcome. So I can teach them with a song, I have a song for that. When I say thank you, you say you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. When I say thank you, you say you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. Thank you, you're welcome. You sing the song, you run your trials, can you hand me something or anything? He gives it to you. Thank you, you're welcome. Oh, good job saying you're welcome, right? So, you can teach the child through songs. But the point in what I'm saying is that there should be a motive and goal behind everything that you're doing. You're either running the DTT, you're either teaching the child, you're pairing the child, but preferably the pairing should be in the reinforcement itself. You're assessing or helping the BCBA assess the child. Or you're doing an essential event like, feeding, restroom, mom comes in, wants to talk to the child, nurse comes in, has to give the child a shot, has to change the child, so forth and so on. So always have a purpose in what you're doing. Outside of these purposes, there should not be anything else happening in the session. So we're not just turning on videos to turn on videos. We're not playing songs to play songs. We're not playing games just to play games. If I'm playing a game, it's a purpose. This game is a reinforcement for you. This game is teaching you how to do something. So we're running DTT with the game. It's teaching you how to share with the game. You have a specific program with learning this game. But there's not something just as a time filler or something just as an activity to do. So I hope that makes sense. 5 activities only: assessing, teaching, pairing, running the DTT program, or the task analysis, or whatever the natural teaching, or whatever the method of programming is, and then your essential events. Outside of that, there's nothing else that should be happening in this session. Okay, and then we'll talk about the last part of DTT, which is maladaptive behavior, which occurs during the trials.